My name is Nigel Griffiths. I work in the Advanced Technology Centre in the UK, part of IVM Europe. This IVM movie is about users and backups. So we're going to look at user control and user accounts. First, I'd like to go down here to the application logs, and we can see here that if we're not careful, we can see that this padmin user is doing everything on this machine. This means it's very difficult to work out who did what, and if something's gone wrong, who to actually ask about it. And it's much better to have people logging in as their own user IDs so we can track what's going on the machine. Here's the monitor tasks. I've been creating a couple of users here earlier, and again we can see padmin. It'd be better if we actually created a bunch of users and we logged in with a separate accounts. So we go here to view and modify user accounts. You can see I've created a few already, but we'll create a couple more now so you can see how we do that. Well, we hit the create user button there, as you might expect, and I want to create a user called ops, and we're going to give them a password here. This is the administrator setting the password here. The user will have to reset the password as they log in for the first time, and I'll make this guy a read-only user, so we could use this for perhaps a low-level operator to log into the machine to have a look around some things if they're trying to diagnose a problem, or we could even let perhaps a manager log in and have a look at the machine, knowing that they can only view things, they can't update anything or change anything, so they can't do any damage. So let's just create that user, and I'll create another user. This time with the equivalent of P user. His name is Joe. And we're going to leave them as view and modify, a regular user. We're going to use these for the first time, so I'm going to log out and log back in as that ops user. Now it says it's immediately expired. This is because when we create a user as an administrator, I set them a default password up, told them about that. The first time I log in, they need to reset their account. So the old password name, and I'll put in a new one, as if I was the actual user called ops. Here we go now that it's successfully changed it, and it wants me to log in now with the new password. So seems a little long-winded, but it's for security reasons. And here I am now logged in, as you can see up here, as the ops user. And we'll find that some things are limited. If I go into the users, it says I am not authorized to be in here. But I can still look around the system, perhaps if look at a particular partition, and I don't know, try and change something. And it says not sufficient authority to run the command, so I can look around, I can see everything, but I can't actually change anything. And the same would happen with that other user account that I created, although that was a user that did have read and write permissions. I can't see them here now. I think I'll actually log out. If we turn now to how we back up our machine, first of all there's the IVM server itself, and there's two sorts of backup here. The first one only backs up the configuration details itself of how the logical partitions are configured, and we'll look at that in a minute. Secondly, then we have to back up the IVM server, and to do this we log into the console to the IVM server, and we use a standard backup iOS command that can back us up to a tape drive or a DVD RAM type device onto local disks, and perhaps we transfer the file somewhere else, or maybe an NFS mounted file system. Then if we turn our attention to the client logical partitions themselves, of course there's many of these rather than just one VIO server, we can use just a classic operating system backup. Perhaps we have a backup server with tape drives attached, that might be network or SAN attached backup, that will work fine. If we have locally attached tape or DVD RAM drives, we can use those, or we could do again to local disks and transfer the file away, or NFS. We have one further final option, which is virtual optical devices, where we can go to an optical device attached to the IVM server and back up to there. We'll look at virtual optical devices in a later movie. And as a further option, if we shut down our client logical partition and it's using virtual disks, then the IVM VIO server can see the virtual disks and we can do a raw data backup. This could be a logical volume or a file-based volume, and we can go to any of the resources attached to the VIO server. So let's show you some of the IVM specific backups. We have the backup panel here, and the first thing we can do is create this configuration file. So we just hit the button here, and it creates this single file that's in the home directory of the padmin user that contains this information. There's only one file that's created. If you want multiple files, you have to log in and rename that file. And if we just click on that file, we'll see our web browser is quite happy to download it. I could save it to disk, but I'll just open it straight into an editor and we can have a look at the file. Here we go. At the top of the file we have some information about the actual machine itself and some of the I/O slots available and what's in them. Then we have further down here we have the settings for the HEA adapters. Down here we have the details of the IVM partition itself. This is the management partition configuration. And if we go down the file here, we can see here's our two configurations for our two logical volumes, and we can see that's orange LPAR2 and orange LPAR3. So we have some information about what is actually connected to this logical partition. But we have to be very clear that this does not cover the details of the logical partition itself. I mean the data inside the logical partition, just the profile information about how to recreate the logical partition. We could use that if we're in disaster recovery to bring them back, or we could use it if we wanted to clone this machine onto the next machine and create the same set of logical partitions. Now if we wanted to bring that file in here, we save that to perhaps our workstation, and we can browse to find that file and bring it back in here and activate it if you want. The next tab here has information about how to actually do the backup, and it's giving you the hint that you have to use this backup iOS command. So let's log into our IVM partition. Here we go. I previously defined a file system called backup, and I'm going to create a backup in a format called makesysb. And the backup's there started. It's going to take a few minutes. Okay, then there we go. We finished the backup. If we have a look at that backup file system, there's the file, and there's the size. We see it's 2 GB, so a fairly classical size for a backup copy of AOX, or in this case the IVM VIO server. If we just type that command in again and look at the options here, if we had a local tape or CD drive and we wanted to do that, we could do that directly with this command as well. There's another option for creating an image that could be used to reinstall the VIO server from a HMC. That's the first option on the list here. But of course, if we're using IVM, we haven't got a HMC to do the initial install, and we'll have to rely on one of the other backup methods.